In the last movie, we saw how to add loops to your tracks. And in this movie, we're going to go over a few of the ways that we can edit these loops. Since the last movie, I've added a couple of extra loops to our song. I've added a drum fill track, and I've added a second guitar part to our rhythm track. Let's take a quick listen. The song's coming along pretty nicely. There's a few more things that I want to add to it before we begin the mixing process. But before we add another loop, let's just finish tidying things up. What I've done to my tracks here, as you see 1 through 5, I've made the track heights a little bit smaller. I've also color-coded the tracks so I can easily identify what is what. So the first thing I'm going to do is double-click on this speaker, and I'm going to change the icon. Now Mixcraft comes with a number of icons, or you can add your own. I'm going to add a drum kit since it's a drum fill. I'm going to also right-click on the track, go to color, and color code it the same as the other drum track on track 2. Finally, I want to adjust the height. Right-click, go down to height, select small. Now I've selected track 7 for our next loop. Now I want to add a cymbal at the very top to introduce the drums, the bass, and the rhythm guitar. So I go over to category. I've gone down to instrument and drums. I've pre-selected Crash 2, and I'm going to just drag and drop it into track 7. Let's rewind and preview. Okay, I like the sound a lot, but obviously it comes in way too late. So we're going to adjust the length of this cymbal crash. First, make sure your sound is selected. Go down to the Sound tab. And here we see our sound. Now you can go to this green arrow to preview it. It had a lot of extra stuff on the back that I don't want. So we're going to adjust the length of this loop. Hover over that vertical line at loop start until your cursor turns into a left and right arrow, and drag it over to where you want the loop to start. Same with the end loop. Simply hover over that vertical line at end loop, drag it over to where you want the loop to stop, and we're going to preview this. Perfect. Now you can see that it adjusted the loop up here in my track, but it also took the length of the loop and did not adjust it. So that's why we see two sounds. So if we go in our main arrange window and preview it, here we can do another type of edit, which is a crop or trim edit. You can see these little hash marks. This is where your loop length markers are. So if we take and hover over the back of the loop again till our cursor turns into a right and left arrow, and simply drag it over to that next hash mark. And we have snapping on, so it's going to snap right to that. Now let's go back and preview. Okay, it's still too long. So how are we going to adjust the length of this? Well, there's a couple of ways to do that. One is to go down here to Adjust Project Tempo. And right now, it's detected at 150 BPMs. Now let's go down to, say, 90. And that looks almost perfect. So let's preview that sound again. Oh, I could live with that. So that's one way to adjust it. Another way is to go down to the same drop-down menu, but time stretch by. Here we see it's time stretched by 100%. So we want to adjust that to be a little bit shorter. So I'm going to go down to 60%, which now, if I zoom in, I can see I've left it a little bit short. So I'm going to go and highlight this 60%, type in 65, push return, and it is almost right on the button there. Let's preview it. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the way the song is progressing. That's a quick look at editing loops in Mixcraft 5.